Oh man, well this is going to be, this is something unique to the Ylopo Summit, or at least I like to think so anyway. It's kind of a multi-sensory type thing, right? So we've got someone that is doing something spectacular. So we're going to interview him, but we also want him to have slides that we're going to talk through together so that you guys can get as much actionable support as possible. So Ryan, man, a lot's changed in the last year. Why don't we start like in the movies? Tell us the good stuff, and then we'll start from the sob story.
Well, they made me send this slideshow in a week ago, and these numbers now need to be updated. It's up to 40. These are Ylopo Gen leads. Since Summit last year, it's now 44. Hold on. I have the notes. I had to pull it up this morning. And we added another 12,000 into the GCI.
That's
so
fantastic.
Our 13,000. Well, whatever.
So 44 closings since Summit 2024. Right?
Yeah,
So
and 230,000 in gross commission income of Ylopo Gen leads.
That's fantastic. Let's give him a round of applause.
Yeah. Well, I want to point out too, Ryan did us a favor here because sometimes we don't get the full story when we hear numbers from people, but he also put up there the cost of those leads. So $26,000 paid in for $230,000 out. I'll let you guys do the math on that, but that's a little bit over 9 times ROI. Probably almost close to 10.
Incredible.
It's getting there, yeah.
Yep.
All right, but it wasn't always that way. So Summit, Austin, take us there.
Austin, right before I went to Austin, I was having this kind of, and the next slide will tell you, but I have a small boutique brokerage. I had 12 agents going into the meeting last year. And at the time, we were negative in our ROI.
So you were like, this program sucks, I'm out.
I like the technology, but the lead gen, I was ready to trash. I was like ready to call up and say, forget this. But honestly, it was like a few people in the Success Community Facebook group and Kiwi said, no, get here. You really need to come. We want to hear some of what you're doing what we're doing, and maybe we can fix it. But I was ready to bow out. I don't know how many people in here are like, really, is this worth it? Because it is kind of expensive, right? But yeah, that's where we're at.
So then it kind of hit a culmination, right? This is when we start to dig in. See what I'm doing?
Oh, he brought his shovel on.
I was a little worried about what he was doing with that.
Welcome.
I wasn't sure if I was sitting down or protecting them. But yeah, I was losing money on Ylopo. And it didn't make sense. I mean, I could take that money and put it into other things. Like, why wasn't it? And so I do a lot of flips and I own a lot of rental property. That was actually covering it. And I had these 12 agents and I'm looking, I'm like, why am I not seeing the ROI? I believe in the system. And when I came here, I was like, right? What we found out is that the systems weren't, they were there. We just weren't utilizing them.
How many of you guys have been there?
Yeah.
How many of you guys are there right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's about to happen now is if Ryan was sitting across from you saying, okay, I was there too, this is what I did to get out of the mess. That's where we're going now. Let's take us through. What was the first step?
The first step was digging in and finding out, hey, what's happening? And the first thing I found out was that we have these great action plans. Barry writes them, Gabe writes them, but they end. They end. And we weren't following up. Our average follow-up was 2.4 times of touch. It takes 7.2 to convert a lead. We weren't there. So I used the tools inside of Follow Up Boss, and there's some fields in there. And one was last sent action plan email.
Okay.
Does everybody know about that? Last sent action plan email. Write that nugget down and then go and look on your own database.
Because most action plans, there's some text initially, but they convert to emails. If you're not getting an email out in 30 days, they're not on an action plan. The only other reason they wouldn't have that is if they've unsubscribed, and so we're not sending them. So as you can see right up on there, we've created this list, and it says it's more than 40 days ago. The email is good, and our last communication with them, now last communication means a human being contacted them, was more than a week ago, right?
So you left Summit and you said, all right, I'm going to use the filters here that you're showing to see everyone that we stopped talking to.
Exactly.
Okay, then what happened?
Found thousands of leads. And I actually had one agent that had claimed over 400 leads and made 4 attempts to communicate the prior 30 days. Not 4 per lead, 4.
Total.
All right.
I graciously brought her into the office and offered her the opportunity to continue her real estate career at another office. So I went from 12 agents. Within a month, I was down to 4.
Okay, within a month. So you left this fired up and firing people.
Pretty much. I went all Donald Trump and said, you're fired. Right?
Okay, all right,
Right.
all right. So you found some other things that were broken, is that right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I started digging in with my CSM. I started having monthly meetings with my CM. If you're not doing that, get on a calendar, have a recurring appointment, and get with your CSM. They have access to so much more information than we can see in our STARS dashboard. And so I found out that the Facebook ads, if you're spending money on Facebook ads, for at least me, 18, 19 months, still no conversion. It just wasn't worth it. I figured, why don't we shift that? So I took all the money out of generating Facebook ads and put it into remarketing. And remarketing gets in front of your Sphere, your other portals, everything. It's not new lead gen. It's getting your ads back in front of the people. It's another touch.
So, but keep in mind, you had already bought a year's worth of leads that you stopped talking to.
Yes, I had tons and tons of leads that we stopped talking to.
So you increased your advertising to reach the leads that you had already purchased through us.
Right.
Yeah, got it.
And then I got with my CSM and found out that my Google PPC, they give you you have so many zip codes or so many towns. It was an inordinate amount of leads were coming from one zip code, because when Google starts getting a good response, they keep throwing it at that zip code, right? And I'm like, of course, it was a lower end market.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So I wanted to increase that because that helps our agents be happier too, right? So I went with the marketing team, and what they said is they can actually put a rule in your PPC that says only 20% of the spend can be in that zip code.
So what you did was you looked at what was happening.
Yes.
So you became aware, step one,
That's number one. The onus is on
of
me.
what was going on. You did an audit on your system.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? And then how is the system working? And then consolidated those
Yeah,
things.
the marketing professional gave you the direction to say, hey, okay, based on the data, Facebook's not working, Google is, let's repurpose, let's tweak. So everybody should be doing that. That's a gold nugget. You should be speaking with your marketing team to dial in your market. Real estate's hyper-local.
Exactly. I mean, you get those alerts that say like a lead is re-engaged after so many days. When I left the summit last year and instituted some of these changes, I was getting 998 days. I never crossed the 1,000 barrier, but 998. If I see it over 200 now, I freak out. That means we didn't do our job. Right?
All right.
So that's it.
then you started to roll out some systems as well after.
Yes. We had to put some systems that worked in there. So we had to build action plans. But here's the thing, and I was just sitting with someone in the audience like this. You can go in the action plans through the admin and see how many are on it, but you can also see how many completed that action plan. Mm-hmm. We were losing people. They were falling off the cliff. They were walking and they finished the marathon. Well, why not throw in a last step on your action plan to kick off a trigger to start a new action plan? So we would have one like back to website that runs for 6 months. We would put an automation in there and automatically send them on like long-term nurture, which is a 6-year action plan or a 1,200-day follow-up plan. So we're always there. We had thousands of leads that had fallen off the cliff of action plans, and we weren't touching.
And so the 7 and 7, tell us about that.
The 7 and 7, actually, I think I got a little, and I'm going to, in the next slide, actually show you what that is.
Well, go ahead and go ahead and show it to us.
The 7 and 7, am I actually, no, this is the action plan ones.
Yeah, next one.
So you can see the,
Hold on, really quick, go back on the action plan.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we're clear. What you're doing here is you're just adding a step at the end
Yes.
to add a tag.
Yeah.
And that tag kicks off another plan.
Yeah.
It's really simple. Sometimes we get overwhelmed when we use words like triggers or other things, but it's add a tag at the end. That tag kicks off another plan.
This literally took maybe a minute to put in. I went in.
Yep.
I went into the action plan, went to the last step, add it, say, hey, add a tag. Then I go into automation and say, hey, when a tag is added, change the action plan to this.
And that's in Follow-Up Boss.
That's in
Yes.
Follow-Up Boss. I'm sorry, yes, that's in Follow-Up Boss.
Yep.
And then you've got smart lists. Now, this is what we're talking about with your smart list,
Yes.
the 7 and 7 and the 10 days of profit. I like that one.
Well, I got to throw out a shout out to my buddy Jim here. Last year we talked about 10 days of pain,
Yeah.
which is what sales agents
Yeah,
talk about.
yeah.
We said 10 days of profit because we liked it better. So I give a shout out to Jim Hill on that one. But the 7 and 7 list is just a search. It's an action, that's all it is. And it's the last communication, again, is a human communication, and they have to record it, not an action plan email or not a marketing email. If it's more than 7 days ago, but the last visit was less than 7 days ago, that means they've been on our website and nobody's talked to them for a week.
Yep.
You just can't have that.
So you're working the activity.
So that is the number one list that I put in every single agent's So that's the top of their, I was to say at the left, but now it's on the left side of high, right? List. And I better see that at 0. Like I'll give them one warning, and the next day, if it's still not at 0, their leads go off.
And keep in mind, guys, this is someone that's closing 3 to 4 Ylopo deals a month that a year ago wasn't closing any. And it's because he's obsessed with talking to the people when they need to be spoken to, and he's using these filters to do that.
Yeah. That 7 and 7 list is gold. It is gold.
All right, so next, I believe you were going to dial in and talk to us a little bit about some of the marketing that,
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so again, going back to what I was talking about and meeting with the marketing team, I wanted to review. So every month I review the marketing spend I do with my CSM to see what we're doing, what click-throughs we're seeing, you know, all that kind of stuff. How many engagements we got on remarketing, right? And when I was at the Success Summit last year, my remarketing was down here, and then all of a sudden it jumped. It was like we were getting 100 remarketing. Now I'm at 600-700 a month, right? And all I did was increase that spend. If you're not putting, 10%, if you have 2,000 leads and you're spending $200, you're off, right? If you have 10,000 leads, you need to be spending $1,000 on that remarketing. It will pay back, I promise you, right? So I cut my Facebook ads. I did that. I capped the PPC spending in the bad zip codes. Well, I should take it back. The lower producing zip codes.
There you go.
Right?
Reallocated.
Reallocated so that
Yeah.
we were getting, so we were getting, that particular zip code has listings that go from literally $1,000 on junk houses to maybe 200,000. Now, like just last night, I was sitting with people at this really weird bar in an alley, and we got a lead for 2.1 million.
So would it be fair to say that a good idea is to go to your marketing person and say, hey, how's Facebook converting against Facebook in my market? What zip codes or areas are better converting?
Yeah,
and then start to have that dialogue?
And they'll be able to share with you how much it's spending, because when they buy ads with Facebook, they're competing against everybody in the world, not just real estate, everybody. And so like at Christmas time, it costs you more because more people are trying to get their marketing out there, right? Mother's Day, there's a little kick in there, but that's the thing. Like right now, it's nothing. This is where you can ramp up and get more.
All right.
Yeah.
So then you changed your culture after that. Is that?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I went from 12 agents down to 4. It was huge. But our agent touches of the clients went from 2.4 to 9.4.
Huge.
That's
right?
big.
And 7.2 is that sweet spot we got to where we actually convert.
And I bet a big part of that was that you were paying attention to that number.
Oh, the onus is completely on me. But the other thing is also we changed how we were doing it.
Right.
I told my agents, stop being salesy. Stop being, like everybody's worried about scripts. And I just said, you know what? Forget that, right? Be you. Be real. I love dad jokes. I'm really bad at dad jokes. My kids
you
say
are
I'm
really bad. No, you
dad
are.
jokes.
I've experienced.
Like how does a Tesla go into battle?
No, don't do it.
No.
They charge.
Ah. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
But then I use Maverick, the reporting tools on Maverick, and then also the agent leaderboard tool if you have Follow Up Us Pro and greater. I kind of nudge them, just say, hey, look at this person. You get 500 points for an appointment.
yeah.
Get those appointments, put them in there, and then you use the Maverick tool that sends the texting to remind them the appointments. They say, how did the appointment outcome come? And then automatically updates Follow Up Us. Getting them to embrace it, sitting down with that one key agent, and I watched her, she had a level. She had been an agent for 6 years, and she was always here. After her buy-in, and she actually said, okay, let's sit down and do this, she went to here. She more than doubled her top year ever before. So I had 4 agents, and I actually finished the year with more sales than I had the prior year with 12 agents.
Ah, that's amazing.
All right?
So
That's
wait, you
amazing.
sold more houses with less humans.
Yes.
Wow.
Because they bought into the system, right?
Yeah.
I want to just throw back to Colton real quick. He says, you're going to fail. When he retired, this individual had more career strikeouts than anybody else in baseball history. Babe Ruth. Do you know who broke his record? Mickey Mantle. Right? And you don't need to know baseball to know those 2 names, right? You need to find players to fit the system. You need to find players that fit your system. You hear all about it, like we got the NFL draft tomorrow night. They're going to be talking about finding the players that fit their system. You need to find agents that fit your system. And if you believe in the system, and let me tell you, you should with this system, find the agents that buy it, get it, and own it. Right?
Yeah.
So I used to think having great tools is enough. Now I know follow throw beats fallback every time. we're not just working the leads, we're building a business, and I want to hand it down. Like my company's name it's called Integrity Realty Partners, but it's a DBA. It's actually legacy, and it's legacy 4K because I want to leave a legacy for my kids. And in building this, I want to leave a legacy. You know, Colton was up here tearing up, and I get the same. If you're a parent, how do you not get that in there, right? And so if we do it right, that's what it is. But I have found that just teaching the agents the fields that are available in a follow-up boss is where you're going to be, right?
Well, Ryan, I think after listening to your story and the way that you've executed, it's a lot easier than I think we realize. We just have to do it.